Hi, I'm Jeremy.
And I'm Casey.
Welcome to our farmstead, Cornucopia Orchards.
Today the house is going to start looking like a house.
Once we get the bottom wall framed in, we will have 4 walls, sorta, kinda.
Anyway, we'll have a full height crawl space at the bottom of the house and a regular 2-foot crawl space at the top.
Once the wall's in, we can move on to the beams and then the floor joists. It'll be great having that head height for all the work under the floor.
Today we also have our pigs confined for farrowing, and we'll take the opportunity to spray the poison oak in the pasture.
You want to drive this time, or dispatch some evil plants?
I don't drive tractors, so plants it is.
This is how we get our materials around. So just to fork on a tractor bucket. Tractor is pretty heavy duty. Sure makes a difference. Nowhere near as nice as a actual machine, just a heavy duty material handler, but it will do for this circumstance. So we're getting that beam right in from here over to there. All right, so we've got our first beam ready to go into place. So on the far side, it sits on pony wall on top of a stem wall, but on this side, it's inset into a pocket. The beam directly carries our floor joists at the same level as our PT mud sill. So we're gonna have to miter in just 1.5 inches. Working on getting the pony walls up for the foundation again. We've got a sheet of our sheathing zip system. My dad's here helping me cut, and the sheathing is going to come in this little bit right here. It's required to be braced. It's a braced wall panel on the interior because of the forces on the structure laterally. Just in the event of an earthquake or a strong wind. This section back here is at the top of the house, and it's a single story, and the rest of the house is 2-story with attic. And so this is just a really stress point for the house. Casey and I have only just begun building our home, but it's already been a long road. There's so much to do on any farm, and so much that needs to be done to build this house. I've always been the dreamer, the optimist, the one to try to bite the whole elephant at once. That's been a good thing, and bad. It meant promotions at work, and with timing and luck, 2 house flips that paid for us to chase this dream. It's also meant we've often had to make do without little things like our own bedroom, or living in a house that's gutted, or missing the staircase. I guess one thing I could say I've already learned here is that focus will be critical. Our original timeline had us working on the interior of the house by now. We've got to pare down all of our like-tos to just have-tos until this house is dried in. With all the delays, I've done as much studying and preparing and learning as I can to just be able to go. Now it's time. So we're going to get started here on the bottom in just a minute. I have a few things that I wanted to just kind of prep and clean up so that we have a workspace that's ready for us this morning to get this bottom section done. So I'm going to get to it. Tools I may need for the day. Crummy old hammer, obviously tape measure, laser measure, which is much more accurate than the tape, does a great job. Pencil for marking anything that needs to be cut for Dad for the board. Permanent marker for any layout that I missed that I realized that I need to do. Got a razor blade for keeping the pencil sharp and cutting string. Got my 2 different framing nails, 3 1/4 galvanized nails, and have the 3-inch brights. Have my old Stanley level that was heavily used in my remodeling activities, but which I'd love to trade up for a Stabila. 3.5-inch pneumatic nailer, 21 degree. Have my driver, have my fiber reel. We've got our rigid cordless circular saw, string line for running new lines, protective equipment, cut station, air compressor. So 90.5 is this board.
Oh, okay. I cut it for the other side then.
Yeah.
The other one's 90 and 5/8.
So you're gonna give me an
89.
80, 81.
I mean 81. Yeah.
Yeah.
So these two are different.
Yeah. We are building on a hill. Not enough of a hill to require its own special engineering, but enough that from one end of the house to the other is 8 feet of drop. And enough that we have multiple step downs in our foundation. We have the clearance in the lower third of the house, in fact, to have had a garage or a full basement if we'd wanted it. The house plan is spacious enough that we didn't need the basement space, and the garage, well, when it comes down to it, it was just a matter of cost. We decided to save the extra $10,000 for other things, and with inflation, I'm very glad we did.
Let's go on the outside. Always makes it difficult to do your interior trim. Nope, missed.
Yeah, not surprising. Okay. So, how does we push that side at all, or is it good? My dad has been great for bouncing ideas off of, and has been over to help on the shop and now the house for countless hours. We talked through how to build the step walls and couldn't really figure a way to build them as a unit and then raise them up into place, especially with so many hold-down bolts and anchor bolts of different heights and not entirely straight vertically. So we've done a lot of toe nailing studs to the sill and checking height against the taut string. It will be really nice to start framing the first floor, where hopefully, if we've done our job here, in what is becoming our house's crawl space, we can move relatively quickly to raise walls with pre-cut studs. Oh wow.
Well, what?
That board has got a serious bow right now. For now, and through the floor joists getting rolled, we just need to do the best we can to get the top plates up to the same height, the walls plumbed and true, and the joists level. Put the pressure up a little bit, so we actually should be able to get some depth to the nailing here. show you what it looks like from the other side. So what we have is hold down that sits in this pocket right here, and it's just a heavy duty bracket that comes up like that with a bolt sticking out of it and then a nut to hold it down. And this is going to sit on the wall like this, and then that way you've got a good nailing surface on the joint on the outside, and you've got a sufficient hold down strength on the inside as well. Neighbor had a big tree branch fall off of that oak, and tree specialists, actually the same people that we use to cut out some of the trees that were cottonwoods that were threatening her shop, had them come out, and they suggested that it probably did need removed. So they've got it tensioned. You can probably just see that wire up there. There she goes. On our way up to the piggies this morning. Already been fed and everything, so they're mostly taken care of. Do have my handy dandy pig poop scooper, which helps us keep the pens clean for them. And we're just gonna do a little bit of maintenance and just kind of show you what we have going on with the pigs up here. So we have separated out all of our pigs except for two that are still together. You can see we've got a dog kennel, essentially is what this was. We bought for relatively inexpensively, and it's done a great job as a place for the pigs to be. And we've got some nice wood chip that they've got as bedding. So we've got this mama here, who is very far along, within the next week is my guess. This mama here, and she's probably maybe a week or two past that. So we've got our boy and our last of the three girls up here, and they have a bigger pen because there's two of them, and I wanted them to be able to roam a little bit more. We are going to be doing a bunch of stuff in the pasture, as we already talked about, and so I want to make sure that the pigs are kind of kept away from where we're going to be spraying and stuff to get rid of the poison oak. They have certainly helped, but animals, even goats, nothing controls it like a combination of factors. So, you know, you have to really use everything you have to get rid of poison oak and other similar weeds like blackberry. And when you're trying to control poison oak and blackberry and that sort of a thing, you know, what we found is that you have to kill it to the roots. And there's ways you can do that. You know, you can spray if you spray enough, and obviously that's not the preferred method for anything, but it is effective and it is a necessary part of the process to get everything out on a place like this, where legitimately half of what you see in that background that's not white, that's daisies, but half of what you see back there that's green is poison oak and blackberry. So goats will control it somewhat. Pigs actually will eat poison oak leaves if they're short, young, and fresh, so they will help control it. And they snout their way through, and they will eat a little bit on the roots. So animals will help. They genuinely do, and that can kind of get you partway there. And then, you know, you need to introduce a regimen of spraying to try and kill the roots. And then our intention is to really finish the destruction of all of those plants. Specific to this place, normally I'm not a huge tillage person, but we are going to plow and then disc, and that should hopefully break up any big root clusters, disrupt that growth. We will then seed once we're done with that, like mentioned before, and then full circle, that should give us a good pasture and make it safer for humans to be around. The pigs don't need that. The pigs are fine. They aren't affected by urushiol oil like we are, and while the blackberries are noxious, I mean, pigs are forest animals, so they're adapted to berry brambles and that sort of thing. They have very tough skin, and they have that bristly fur. Getting a little spot spraying done, trying to clear out the poison oak before we come through and do our tilling work. Casey's just looking through any patches that she sees. The small ones, they'll still come up this time of year. We're not as worried about right now. Tillage will kill a lot of that. So you can see right down there, that's a patch that she sprayed. After months of delays and waiting, the progress we've made on building our own house in just a few short days has given us fresh excitement that we can still get the shell of the house done before the damp of fall and the cold of winter arrive.
This journey has not been what we thought it would be so far, but now the hammer is firmly in our hands and we're not relying on someone else to move forward.
Thanks so much for joining us.
We'll see you next time.